Hey everybody, we are live. Going to cover this subject because everybody's really worried, so hope you like this, and please hit the likes and subscribe if you haven't already. But as usual, let's jump in. So we're going to talk about today and where we are with Solana.
We're going to talk about today.
And that's too loud.
Where we are.
Sorry. Always got to make sure the noise is working. So the question is it game over for Solana? Has my investment thesis changed? And answer all the questions I've been getting over weeks and weeks about this whole platform. So let's go. And again, I always say keep your tap dancing shoes on because you never know. Everything changes all the time. And the last 24 to 36 hours were stressful for many people. But as usual, let's jump in. Math, money, freedom. And this is edutainment. So here we go. So what happened? What exactly went down? So Solana did experience a 16+ hour outage yesterday. It started around 5 Eastern time when Solana started to experience a flood of transactions. And around 7 a.m. Eastern time, which is about 4 a.m. my time here, network resources were completely exhausted and there was a denial of service. And this was kind of caused by bots spamming the network to participate in the Radium IDO. And we'll talk more about that in a second, but that's basically what went down. So a little bit more detail, the chain of events, or the blockchain of events, bots flooded the IDO. And for those who don't know, an IDO refers to the launching of a cryptocurrency on a decentralized exchange, DEX. Radium was the exchange of choice, and this was an initial DEX offering. So the bots flooded Radium at about 300,000 transactions plus per second, up to 400,000, according to the CEO of Solana Labs, Anatoly. We'll talk more about him later as well. The validators were completely overwhelmed. There was a lack of prioritization, and around 8 a.m. Eastern, Solana stopped producing blocks. Basically, it stopped completely. And validators were able to restart the network after Solana developers released a patch to limit transaction forwarding. So let's talk about the big elephant in the room. Was Solana hacked? You do a Google search, everybody thinks it was. No, it wasn't. It was just spammed and overloaded through a little bug or glitch. So also, coincidentally, there were other outages and attacks yesterday. Arbitrum went down for about an hour, and somebody had an attempted attack on the Ethereum network. So again, this stuff is not uncommon, and there's a whole bunch more information that'll come along with this, so stay tuned. So some of the details of exactly what went down. First of all, it was called an uncontrollable forced fork, and they were forced offline by uncontrollable forced forks. Forced forks are really hard to say, all the F's. Happens when the chain becomes unusable and validators migrate to a new chain process to process transactions. And this causes a change to the network's protocol that makes previously valid transactions invalid. Think of Ethereum and Ethereum Classic. Remember, Ethereum today was a hard fork from the original Ethereum Classic. But the key thing here is, if you look at the tweet from the Solana status, they basically talk about a couple of things. One is it is the mainnet beta. So this is considered, it is a production version with real money and real transactions, but it's still considered a beta. Again, this whole ecosystem is growing very quickly. It is under development, and it's a beast. And the fact that it crept out of 400,000 transactions per second is quite astonishing, because Visa transacts about, I think it's 1,700 transactions per second. That gives you the idea of the scalability of this network. But let's see how it was resolved and what happened. So the crisis was averted. The developers released a patch. They must have worked really hard yesterday, version 1.6.23, which limits transaction forwarding, basically throttles down the amount of traffic in case such a thing happens again. And this prioritizes critical transactions, improves spam blocking, and better load rebalancing. And everything was restarted and off to the races one more time. But a lot of questions is exactly how did this go down for. So this all happened on Radium. Radium is supported by Solana. There was a couple of other things as well. Radium is a dApp on Solana that utilizes the Solana network to perform exchange type functions. And it flooded the network's transaction queues with spam. This caused Solana to lock up and quickly produce the last block, shutting it down. Other dApps as well that were impacted, like Serum, Pith, and FTX, were no longer able to communicate with the network as the blocks couldn't be updated. And FTX, for example, was not able to perform Solana-based transactions. So yesterday was a complete mess. Now, what is the culprit? Basically, the exploit allowed bots to make and then revert transactions at the same time, allowing them to spam transactions during the initial DEX offering. And this is kind of the culprit that we believe. I'm pretty sure that this is how this went down. Now remember, this type of thing happened to Ethereum as well during the early years. And, you learn from experience and things are fixed and repaired. But let's talk about some of the load that's actually on the Solana ecosystem. Just a reminder, there are so many dApps across a range of different categories. Radium is one of the leading DEXs on Solana. And Radium, as we mentioned, caused the issue. But there's so many up-and-comers here as well, like Soul, Fire, Exchange, Oxygen, and everybody's looking forward to Star Atlas out there as well. So there's a ton of building happening on this as we go forward. Now, in terms of the status, you can check it out for yourselves at solanabeach.io. It's back up and running, about 3,200 to 3,400 transactions per second. And remember, it's built for 50,000 transactions per second, but it crapped out at 400,000, which is faster than a whole bunch of Ethereum platforms all at once. But let's dig a little bit deeper and see how our thesis changes. So first of all, a little bit of risk management. Do not transfer from exchanges to wallets on the Solana exchange right now until everything is completely stable. There are some reports of people making transactions and they get stuck or they get lost. So wait for things to settle down before you use the ecosystem, before you move big monies around. Second thing, a lot of questions come in about the cost to be a validator and Solana centralization and everything else. So I'm going to tackle this first. And we ran some numbers today. And we looked at the type of processor, the amount of memory, the amount of storage you need on different smart contract platforms, and the minimum amount you need to stake. So a lot of people, I'll step out for a second, are losing their minds over the fact that a Sol validator computer could cost $5,000 to $12,000. But when you look at some of the other benchmarks, you'll see it's not too far off where the other players are. So for example, if we look at Near, Dot, and Avalanche from a storage perspective, it's very close to that. And also, when you look at the processors, they're all kind of similar, except Polkadot needs the fastest processor. Obviously, Solana needs double the memory of Polkadot. And storage ranges from 20 gigs, 100 gigs, 200 gigs, 500 gigs. Storage is not that expensive these days. And the minimum to stake is really the key issue here. For Avalanche, you need about 2,000 AVAX, which costs about 106,000. For Ethereum 2.0 today, with today's money, in fact, Ethereum is going up. We'll talk more about that in a second too. $128,000, but there's no min on Solana. However, it is important to note that to get some validator rewards, you would need at least 100 Sol to get started, which is about $20,000. So that's putting things in perspective. Now let's talk about my investment thesis. Did this outage impact it? And am I going to dump my Solana? Am I going to buy more? Am I going to stay flat? Let's find out. This is the fun part. So let's look at the Sol price. Considering what happened yesterday and a 16-hour outage, the price was relatively strong. And you can see in the little box here, the total amount of loss since the outage to today, it's down 3.6%, which is not catastrophic considering it's crypto. So it held up very, very well. Second thing, the Ethereum hard fork, is this a boon for Solana? There's a lot of talk out there as well that EIP 1559 has actually helped move a lot of apps and dApps to other protocols away from Ethereum. And people thought the deflationary effects of EIP 1559 would be great. In fact, it may not be. So this all remains to be seen what's happening. But we do have some other on-chain data and building data that shows that there are some changes happening with Ethereum, especially if you look at transactions. Now, in terms of what's happening yesterday, I thought this was very important to share as well. And yesterday I spoke about rotations and cyclical nature of crypto, just like equities. People roll money in and out of different platforms. So you'll see over the last 5 days, there's been a huge rotation out of Solana into Ethereum. So the delta, if you look at this, is 23%. So Solana is down 15% over the last 5 days, and Ethereum is up 8%. And it's up even more, actually, just since I started this video. But remember, Ethereum is still that big 800-pound gorilla, so it doesn't move as fast as Solana, but that's where it is right now. Now, to look at the TA of Solana, of how we view the world here, a couple of things I just want to share with you all as to my perspective. So a quick answer is no, I'm not selling, and yes, I will be accumulating. And I'll talk more about that in a second. But you can see here all the times that Solana was overbought over the last couple of weeks. It was overbought 4 times. It was only technically out of the Bollinger Band, 2 standard deviations, 1 time, and that happened yesterday. And it bounced off that support level of 140.41, 142 I think it went down to. So those with 141 fill orders didn't get filled. It was so close. But if you look at the green line, that's my ascending support line under the Bollinger Band. And we need to track that carefully because this key level is support as we go forward. So right now, over the next couple of days, we need to be maintaining a level above 150. If we dip below this, this could be bad news. So I'll be watching this very, very carefully. And also, there can be big wicks. Like I bought Solana at 136.1 a week ago, exactly, when we had that big wick down. So that's the lay of the land there. I think it's looking very strong and very reasonable, but there is a lot of money flow out of Solana into Ethereum, which is normal, cyclical nature. Now let's look at the Solana ecosystem recap. So this is comparing Solana to Ethereum with wallets, dexes, derivatives, lending and borrowing, IDO platforms, which took us down, oracles like Pyth, stablecoin support, asset management aggregators. So you can see is that the Solana ecosystem is growing exponentially. And that's one of the real thesis why we love Solana, because it's just growing so fast and it's early days yet. And the original thesis of investing in Solana was I was convinced it could beat out Cardano. But now it looks like there's a new target in sight, and that is Ethereum. So we'll see. Now, for those who want to talk about growth, another way of looking at growth is look at the top 10 dexes by total value locked over the last 7 days. 3 of the top 10 are all on the Solana ecosystem, and the growth of the top 3 from the Solana ecosystem make up nearly 50% of all the growth across all the top 10 dexes. So, as usual with anything in markets, the winner gets the most. Follow the money. Another way of looking at it, following the money again, is we look at the top 10 gainers on the Solana ecosystem and how they were treated. Just over the last 7 days, you can see that despite everything that's happened, the ecosystem is still growing very rapidly, with the top performer being Aleph and then Solrise Finance and Solanium and Port Finance, and just so much more happening, so much more coming so fast. And again, this is why it's a powerful ecosystem. Let's get a little bit more talk about centralization. I know so many of you are concerned about it. And rightly so, because one of the things I love about crypto is decentralization, but not everything is decentralized. So Solana is still in the very early stages. As you saw, things are still in beta and under development. Therefore, to build out what they need to build out, because they still have bugs, as we saw yesterday, it relies heavily on the Solana Foundation, which is centralized. Now, Solana plans to implement slashing, and with no slashing today means it's not as easy to decentralize and create as many validators, but that's going to change in the very near future. And yes, insiders and founders are very VC heavy, but that's what it takes to make money. So yes, it is centralized, but that doesn't mean it's eliminated from investing. Let's talk about history and historical hacks on layer ones. Blockchain attacks, hacks, exploits, and bugs have happened in all of the top layer 1 protocols in the past, especially in the early stages. And remember, Solana is very new and it's growing like crazy. And the ones that survive, it makes a protocol stronger. And that is just the nature of the beast. This is normal. And the way in which it rebounded was extremely impressive. Now, a few words from the CEO of Solana Labs, Anatoly Yakovenko. He's the guy behind this platform. He's the guy behind the whole POH technology as well. Basically, it's better that this outage happened now rather than when they are at 1 billion users, which is very eloquent and very simple. And as he said as well, about 5 hours ago, Anatoly said the life of an engineer is to always work on stuff that's broken and never work on anything that already works. So I also liked that kind of quote from him as well. So let's talk a little bit about Ethereum early days. Again, Ethereum was hit by 2 computational DDoS, where miners and nodes needed to spend excessive time processing certain blocks. And Ethereum developers fixed the issue. At the time, usual stuff could happen, but it did disrupt the mainstream banking and financial services. So this is just normal. Bitcoin was also hacked in the year 2010. Well, it had a bug that caused a ton of Bitcoin to be minted, tens of millions or something, but that was a long time ago. All this stuff is normal. It's nothing to be concerned about. So quick conclusion before we jump in to some Q&A. So Solana is experiencing exponential growth, which we've just illustrated. The technology is cutting edge. It's the fastest platform out there. And all cutting edge technology, new technology has bugs. It's normal. The best engineers in the world are working on Solana. Scaling is very hard. And I'd like to refer that because that's one of the things that Elon Musk always says as well. Scaling is extremely difficult. And we're seeing that with not only Ethereum, with their 12, 15 transactions per second. They're struggling with that as well. Market is not rattled as seen by the price. And my thesis has not changed. Yes, Solana is not decentralized, but few projects are of this scale in the early days. And one of the great things about Solana is the amount of money they have in their war chest to build the best ETH Killer out there. So as far as I'm concerned, nothing has changed, and I'll continue to accumulate. So let's open this up to some Q&A, and I hope this allayed any fears. Of course, not financial advice that anybody has out there. And let's see, we got some cool questions. I wonder, did anybody sell? Oh, Luke is there. Hey, Luke, could you elaborate on why interested in Elrond and Luna? If ETH Sol are farther ahead, do tokenomics, network growth, etc. score well in your model? Yeah, we look at 20 different factors across 2 different models. One is the crypto compendium, which looks mainly at regulatory risk and tokenomics. And the second part is the smart contract profiler, which looks at another 15, 16 different attributes like TVL and growth rates, dApps, etc., DEXs. And we plug those both together and we get a composite score. And in fact, this composite score is uncomposite scores in the different models, and then we mesh it all together. So it's not as simple, but basically the top 3 from all of those processes come out as number 1, Ethereum, and right behind it by 0.1 is Solana, and number 3 is Matic. So that's the way it works. Elrond and Luna, they're both in the top 10, but there's a couple of other players in between them and Matic right now. J-Ro, how are you? I'm trying to mimic your 50k retire portfolio to 25k and reduce to 5 coins. Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, Link, Dot. Any thoughts, advice? They would be exactly the ones I'd pick. I do like a smattering of Aave and Uniswap because I think that's an important component to have, but they do have a lot of regulatory risks, so that would maybe change my thesis there a little bit, but I do like your selections. The other one that I like as well is Avalanche at the right price. So Avalanche anywhere in the mid 30s is a good buy to have, but not at 56, 60. I think it's too expensive. So thank you for your question. Andy Zaluski chose AVAX over Cosmos. Good entry point in AVAX. Yeah, I do prefer Avalanche over Cosmos. And again, I think I just answered the Avalanche entry point. I like it in the 30s, like $36, anywhere around there. It went down to 33. I sold it at 48, went down to 33. But the money that I got from selling Avalanche, I put it directly into Solana at the wick down to 136.1. So that's how I swapped out. And the relative performance, despite all the weakness in Solana, I think Avalanche is kind of up a hair. But that's just the nature of the beast. We'll see. Over time, I think, well, I'm a little mess up here. I think it's never happened before. But Avalanche will come second to Solana for sure. Trial answer. Can you please check your crypto compendium for IOST, or is it lost? Seems promising down the road. Let me see. I can pull that up now. Hang on a second. Is it IOST or... It is. It's down there. It's in the top 45th percentile. And it is not bad, but there are better. And that's just from the compendium point of view, which doesn't mean it's not going to go up or down. It just means there are better structured projects with less regulatory risk. So hope that helps. Big Duck Kiwi, fastest horse for the rest of the bullhorn, price target. That's a hard question. We analyze it every single day, and everything is a moving target. So it's really, really hard to estimate. I think certain things like we're looking again, we did a first stab at all the Solana ecosystem players, and we didn't come up with anything better than Solana. But we're having a second dig into those because as the ecosystem goes up, it should bring along some of the others. So we're looking there. I don't have any names or ideas for you right now. And Dushi Mahesh, how are you, sir? Considering putting one Bitcoin as collateral on Celsius and taking out a loan at 1% interest over 3 years and putting that loan into Solana now before it goes up again, what would you advise? Well, Dushi, that's an extremely risky proposition. You never, ever borrow to speculate. So as we just saw, Solana is still solid. It rebounded very well, but there's so much risk. And we're seeing the rotation out of other cryptos into Ethereum right now, probably because of what happened with Solana. But if you're borrowing to invest, I would never condone it. Again, it's bad to speculate, but I wouldn't put it into Solana. It's too risky. Ethereum is too risky. I put it into Bitcoin. That's the safest asset right now if you have that time frame. But not investment advice. And German girl in Virginia, I have 2,000 dry powder, 30% Bitcoin, 30% ETH, 28% Sol, 6% Link, 1% Aave, and Matic. Should I DCA into my portfolio or add new coins? I always believe less is more because you need to be on top of your assets because things change every single day and you need to be able to swap in and swap out if something goes wrong, something goes bad. So the key number for me is have 10 horses in your stable in crypto and maybe 10 equities, and that's it. That's more than anybody can actually process. Anybody who says they can manage 50 cryptos, they're not telling the truth. So it all depends. What I like to do is compare where cryptos are to my price targets, how far they are away from their all-time lows to the all-time highs of the year, and see if they're relatively cheap right now to buy. So just draw some lines and some charts and identify where they are, put them all in a spreadsheet, and that's the best thing that I find most effective. But right now, let's look at the market real quick. We have Solana doing Solana just gone up since I started. So I think it was at 156 when we began. Bitcoin is, we just went to the golden cross I covered yesterday, looking extremely bullish. Ethereum, extremely bullish. I mean, that's gone up, 600 points nearly in 2 days. So these things are beginning to move fast. So you don't want to wait too long in making a decision. SpongeBob, what would be a realistic price target for Luna in this bull cycle? Luna is not one that I've analyzed or built price predictions on, but realistically, I will give you a stab in the dark from something that I did put together, and easily $90 to $100, I reckon. That's when things go kind of parabolic. I think Luna could go there. And the reason I'm not in Luna or at this stage is because I like things for me to move out of what I'm holding. I need something else to do a 3x. And if it doesn't hit that threshold, I don't move. So hope that helps with that question. And let me see. Tres Garcia, if you could pick one product or service that a smart contract could provide, what would it be? I think there's a huge application for smart contracts in insurance, in real estate, anything that requires a lot of paperwork and a lot of adjudication and checks and controls and balances, I think that's where the real application for smart contracts is. I can't wait to see some older industries be completely revolutionized by these things, because it's crazy. Like the fact that you can deposit crypto, borrow against it, no paperwork, no social security number check or anything like that is just incredible. And that's where I see the big application of this. Again, real estate, insurance, of course, and real estate incorporates a huge amount of banking and financial services as well. So FS, DeFi, huge applications, and the sky's the limit. Even things like tokenization of real estate, incredibly exciting propositions. So that was Tres Garcia. Hyro again, Link or Dot, which is the best way to invest in the long run 10 years? Why? Well, to think about this space over the next 10 years, I think is a mistake. There's only one thing that we can be sure, well, 99% sure it will be safe, will be Bitcoin. Everything else is developing so fast. So for example, there's a new oracle called Pith on the Solana ecosystem. That one is designed to work across multiple chains. And that could technically displace Chainlink, although Chainlink is very well trusted, very well entrenched, very huge moat. That could displace it. So, but I'm also very fascinated by the parachain technology from Gavin Wood on Polkadot. So it's hard to say, but the question is Polkadot the Sol killer? I don't think so. So that's a tricky one. But I'd be much more comfortable thinking in 3 to 5 year timeframes. And between Link or Dot, I'd probably go with Polkadot, because there's much more money on hand. Luke again, ETH is outpacing Bitcoin in utility, supply shock, and soon deflation. Could ETH eventually be the ideal store of value over Bitcoin? Thoughts? It could, and a lot of people are talking about that thesis for a long time, and I agree with it. I'm just a little bit concerned about ETH 2.0. I think the gas fees nowadays are completely horrendous. The speed is horrendous. The number of transaction processed is actually going down over the last 6 to 12 months, which is staggering, especially after EIP 1559. I need to see more results, more processing power, because when you look at how fast Solana is growing and how many transactions they're processing, that would keep me awake if I was the Ethereum team. I still hold Ethereum. Again, they have their fingers in everything, extremely well developed, extremely entrenched, extremely secure. So yes, there is that store of value thesis, but what I'm doing is to hedge my ETH bet is also betting on Solana in a big way. Broke Bank Vegan for the animals. Also, favorite character on The Office. Oh, that has to be Dwight Schrute. And the main guy, I don't know his name. And how I even know Dwight Schrute's name is a friend of mine has his t-shirt. That's how I know the name. So he's just very funny. JRAM, I need 13K for a surgery. Debating on selling ADA, Celsius loan, or bank loan. Oh, well, first of all, JRAM, I hope the surgery is okay. And I'm sorry you need to pay for it. I wish there was something the medical system could do. Average ADA price is $1.50. The bank loan would be 2% for 5 years, or Celsius loan. If you can borrow 2% for 5 years, take it from the bank. Borrow fiat. As long as it's locked at that 2% rate, that's what I would do. And keep your investments rolling. Even Cardano, because I see it going to $3.50, $4. So Cardano, I think last time I checked, was at $2.50. So there's another $1 there. So that's $3,600, which will more than pay for your interest for the next 5 years. Just the gains on Cardano alone. So JRAM, hope that helps. Steve G, and good luck with the surgery. Steve G, we have a lot of GBTC. Is there any significant possibility that Grayscale would leave GBTC as a non-ETF and create an approved for a different Bitcoin ETF? Yeah, I'm a little bit concerned about that. I did see some rumblings that they could consider doing that. And that would be just stupid considering they have 650,000 Bitcoin. But if that does happen, there'll always be that arbitrage within GBTC. And once the discount eclipses something like 20%, it'll be arbitraged away. And currently, I think we're at 14, 15, 16% discount right now. So the downside, if that does happen, is not that big. It's only 4%. But I think for Grayscale to do that, it would just be stupid. And it would give themselves a black eye in the industry as not being trusted. They owe it to the people to convert GBTC to an ETF. And I know people like Gary Gensler, the SEC commissioner, will approve it based on that. But there's always that 10-20% chance that they could just start a new one from scratch. We'll see. But fingers crossed, Steve. Call me Justine. Do you have video nooks on how to make models for crypto stocks? Love the work. Yeah, when I do my Should I Buy series, we have a 10-point framework of how we look at cryptos, all the things we look at, like longevity, team, total addressable market, growth rates, all that type of stuff. So use that as a framework. And then for pricing models, I have built hundreds of them at this stage, and they all kind of feed off each other. So it's one big monster. But sometimes you price different cryptos based on different things, like the total addressable market and the amount of revenue that they garner from the activities and stuff like that. So it's difficult, but yeah, you just watch some of my Should I Buy videos, watch the one on Solana, and then you'll see kind of the thought process. And thank you for your donation as well. Jason Rigoli, Joseph Punti, Annika K, Thomas Lean, Playing with Pastels, Lateral 2. Make sure I get to all of these, and you guys are all very generous. Bombiggy, I'm keeping my sols right where they are. Not worried at all. I mean, 400,000 transactions per second, exactly. And Caligula, suggestion, make a YouTube video for the IA community that you record now but won't set to release for 5 years. A message from the future. Great idea. That'll be funny. And Chad G for the announce. Thank you so much. Cody Pets, have you heard of the Bitcoin miner CleanSpark? They are trading forward PE of 5.8. They're currently mining 95% carbon-free Bitcoin, and core business focuses on microgrids and energy optimization. I haven't, Cody, but that piques my interest. Forward PE of 5.8 is incredible. Very, very, very cheap, especially if their growth rates are what I think they are, probably over 100% per year. I will check out CleanSpark. But thanks for the tip, Cody, and I'll let you know if I buy it or not. Bushido Brown, have you checked out OMI? Yes, we have. Tokenomics are bad, but the team is addressing that now. I think they're worth a deep look into. They're only the NFT platform with IP licensing due to their head of licensing, Alfred Kahn. Yeah, we looked at OMI. Tokenomics were terrible. Like it was in the bottom 30 percentile. But what a lot of crypto projects are doing right now is they're setting up burning mechanisms to try to bring things back in line. And I know Avalanche is trying that. They're not doing enough yet. Inflation is still too high, but I will have a look again and dig as to what else they're doing. Again, I'm not a huge NFT person. The only NFT play I have is Engine and Ethereum, which is an indirect NFT play. But that whole NFT area is actually calming down now as well. So it's not as hot as it was. So be careful there if you are playing. But we will definitely check out OMI again and stay on top of exactly what they're doing with their tokenomics to fix the problem. Nick Johnson, do you suggest hodling all 32 ETH and 1 Bitcoin for 5 years without touching it? It depends on how fast we go and how high we go. Like if we get a crazy blow off top and Bitcoin goes from $100,000 to $200,000 within a week or two, then you should take half off the table. Now I was just thinking about that today. Somebody asked me a question. So they have a whole bunch of Bitcoin at between $5,000 and $9,000, and you know if you have imagine you got 10 Bitcoin, average cost of 5,000. Goes to 100 grand, just take your initial capital off the table or sell 10%. And that's an easy way to think about it. And that way you're safe. And depending on your cost basis as well, Nick, and depending on exactly how ETH 2.0 comes out at the end of this year, I'll be watching it very carefully. But if it is in any way shaky, I will sell ETH and move it into something like a Solana. And that's the plan. I just need to see how well they are developing, and I'm hearing little grumblings that all may not be perfect. They still have some challenges. And remember, we all know the new benchmark. It's like 400,000 transactions per second, which is nuts. JR, I took a loan against my crypto to buy the dip, approximately 5 to 2, meaning for every 500 euros of crypto, I owe 200 of loan at 8.9%. Do I keep accumulating during the bull run or pay back the loan ASAP to release my Bitcoin? I think you can let it run up a little higher. I like the loan to value ratio of no more than 25%. So try keep it at that just in case there is a dip. But right now, I think things are looking very, very good for the crypto market. Let's have a quick look and see if we can see anything strong happening right now. And the good juju from this, from you guys all here, is Solana at least has been up a lot. Bitcoin relatively stable around that $48,000 mark, and Ethereum also up. So yeah, be careful. What you could do is also split the difference, JR. Take half, pay half off, and keep some, let some run. But risky move, but it's paid off. So well done buying the dip. May S. And the beauty of this space, everybody, as well, you can buy the dip all the time. There are dips all the time, and that's what makes it so exciting. May S. Good entry point for Luna, and your thoughts on EFI. EFI we looked at, haven't done a deep dive, but EFI, let me refresh my mind. Everybody's interested in EFI. Where is it? Hang on a second. I can't remember offhand exactly why we didn't plug into EFI, but something, I just got too many cryptos in my head. Good entry point for Luna. I'm looking at the same thing myself because I have grown to like LunaSwap, not as much as I like other things. And for me to take on Luna means I need to move something else out of the portfolio. But I don't know if we're going to get a dip, but anywhere in the low 30s would be where I'd buy LunaSwap. In fact, I have an alert on my trading view at a little bit over $30. So if it does hit that level and a spike down, I'll know about it and I'll jump in. So that's that. So John Frank, should I sell some Solana to be a whole coiner of Bitcoin? Sol is 30% of my portfolio and it's currently worth 2.5 in Bitcoin value. Well, I only have 0.7 Bitcoin. Yeah, if you have, if you can afford it, I like people to achieve that psychological goal of owning one Bitcoin, because when you have it, it's like, I don't know. It's just, it's hard to break. It's hard to sell. It's something that you keep. Every family needs to have one for the next 5 to 10 years, and it'll be life changing. And that's why I push people towards that whole coiner status. So yeah, considering how much you have, that wouldn't be a bad idea, John Frank, especially now because we discovered yesterday there's a little bit of inherent risk with Solana, despite the fact it stayed strong. And I can think it's going to go back up to 200 in the next couple of weeks. But we'll see. But yeah, you could do that because Solana has run a lot. And that guy, mine Ergo or Raven. I heard Ergo is better for mining, but I'm not a miner, so I'm not an expert in mining by no stretch. But we looked at the Raven coin. The tokenomics isn't good, but Ergo is a lot better. So, my take. Ashley Mallory, how does CKB look? Seems like they are focusing on interconnecting chains and already working with Cardano. I don't look at anything in the Cardano ecosystem, but I will see if I have anything on CKB. It does not ring a bell for some reason. CKB. Oh, I do have it. Yeah. Why didn't it pop up? Ooh, oh my God. Yeah, that scored in the bottom 38th percentile in the compendium. Terrible inflation, terrible insider distribution, circulation, regulatory risk, project centralization. It's really bad. So sorry about CKB, but it's funny. I'm surprised we even had it. Ashley, thank you for your question. Davis. What do you think of the exchange Crypto.com and its own coin CRO? We like CRO. We like Crypto.com. I don't use either. I don't buy either. I don't buy utility tokens. Part of the reason for that is you can't in the United States. But we do like Crypto.com in a big way. I would prefer FTT token though. And Cell token if you are borrowing and lending from Celsius. They'd be a much better place than CRO when we looked at all of the 4 major tokens together: CRO, FTT, Celsius token, and Voyager token. Let me see. That was Ash Davis. Okay. Ali Varfan. I have a big bag of Solana and a small bag of QuickSwap, which is in 100+% profit. Do you think I should keep my QuickSwap or sell it? If sell, what should I buy? Well, it's never good to have a concentration of anything, like a big bag, a big mostly Solana. That's dangerous. You need to diversify, even though it is a winning play. QuickSwap, I don't know at all. Let me see if we have it in here. Let me see if I can find it even. Quick. Let me see. It must be... Yeah, it's number 309, just at the top 300. That's why I don't know it. So far, just looking at some of the data and metrics, it doesn't look good. Yeah, that's a higher risk asset than anything else. Yeah, if you make 100% profit, move it to a safer asset, go into the top 20, and pick some of the good ones there. So Ali, hope that helps. And Diane L, newbie here. If Solana uses ETH's layer to survive, what happens if a problem develops on ETH? They don't need ETH's layer to survive. They can use it. They're building some multi-chain capabilities to be able to do that, but not a problem. Solana have their own chain, their own technology. They don't need to rely on anybody else. And they're already going off in their own direction in a big way. So hope that helps. Snowfall, any idea what happened to HUD-8? Can you take a look at ICX? Yeah, HUD-8, they announced they were going to issue more stock. So any shareholders will be diluted to the tune of 10 or 15%. I haven't actually dug into the numbers yet, but I covered it yesterday briefly. And that always brings about a little bit of dilution and shock and awe to the market. So HUD-8, how much did they fall by today? Wow, 15%, which reflects the 15% dilution of shares. That's exactly why that's there. And the other question, ICX. Let me see. I think I looked at that before. All these icon. Hang on a second. Icon. I can't find it. I don't know anything about Icon other than the fact that we briefly looked at it a while ago and it did not look in any way good at all. So sorry about that. But HUD-8, hopefully that answers your question. Thomas, what is your thought about extreme high cost of running a validator on Solana, which forces the system towards centralization, as well as consensus voting is done on chain, which takes up about 80% of all TPS? Yeah, that is definitely an issue. But again, it's early stages. They are planning to make it easier to become a validator. They've gone from being about 850 validators to over 1,100 just over the past couple of weeks. And they're ramping that up. And they're trying to make it more equitable as well. Yes, you do need a computer that costs between $5,000 and $12,000. Yes, you probably need at least 100 Sol to become a validator. But when you compare that to what's required to be an ETH validator, it's actually a lot less. So it's not too bad. And they're going to fix that a lot as they go forward. So I'm not concerned. It is centralized, but it needs to be centralized. I mean, they raised $300 million from VCs to be able to build an ETH Killer. That's the simple mission. And they're going after a huge addressable market. And the VCs behind them aren't going to do a rug pull. They're not just going to sell their shares and take their 2,000% gains. They're going for global control of all things DeFi as they go forward. So, Thomas, I hope that helps. And yeah, no protocol is perfect. But when we look at all of the factors we look at, Solana comes out on top. Every single time. Justice for all, my Metallica friend. What are the current rules regarding short and long-term capital gains related to crypto assets? It depends where you are. Short-term gains, if you are in New York and California, will be added onto your income. So if you're earning, say, $300,000, $250,000 a year in California, and you'll be paying like 40% on that and about 11-12% state tax. So your effective, your taxes on your short-term capital gains will be 50% and above. So you got to be very careful. But check with your tax accountant. There's also some pretty good websites where you can estimate your taxes online. You can plug in your state, your income level, and your short-term capital gains. But I much prefer, if I am trading, because of the headache of taxes, I much prefer waiting for long-term capital gains. It is so much more cost-effective. And also when you're trading, it's much easier to win over longer periods of time. Day trading is just not lucrative as far as I'm concerned. And let me see. Games play. What red flags do you find with CKB? Seems like a gem. A lot of their crypto portfolios have it on their books. CKB. Hang on a second. Nervous Network. Hang on a second. I wish I could keep everything in my little head, but it is so hard, everybody, to remember everything. Hang on a second. Clear. Oh, CKB. Yeah, no, the tokenomics are absolutely horrific on Nervous Network. Just god awful. But then again, sometimes there might be a huge total addressable market. I haven't looked at them. They're ranked, I think, 150, but the red flags everywhere from how they rank. So we'll see. That is CKB from Gamesplay. Matt Affleck must be a brother of Ben. Understand, use and love projects like Aave and Uni, but what drives demand for the tokens since they are not required to use, don't get share fees? And that's part of a problem, but there are many, many tokens as well that don't benefit greatly from the actual native token of the actual platform. But they will one day, and I own both Uniswap and Aave for the reason that I believe these protocols will grow, and there will be demand for those tokens to own part of it. But there are some that literally, like I spoke about, I think it was Yearn Finance the other day, and how no matter how successful Yearn Finance will be, there is no real benefit for token holders as they go forward. So it is an issue, but again, it doesn't stop me from buying those things. So I hope that helps. And Travel Teleport, with UST coming to Sol, I'm surprised you're not bullish on Luna. Also, Maker and Dai, what are your thoughts? Yeah, so Luna is okay, but I prefer the other plays because Luna didn't score as well on the matrix models that we use. That's why. Dai, we don't look at, but I know some people do like it. Let me think. I think Dai did really well in the compendium. Let me just pull it up real quick. Hold on. Wish I could do this faster. I gotta pull up and search these things. Dai and Maker. Nothing is pulling up right now for these two. Again, Maker and Dai. I know we looked at Dai and I know we looked at Maker a long time ago, and they just didn't do well at all. And I don't know why they're not coming up right now. Hold on a second. Maker. Something wrong with my filters. And I'm just looking at DAI. I don't know why it's not coming up. Hang on, I know it's here. I can't find my quick notes on Maker and Dai, but I know they're not bad, but they're not worthy of my top 10. And it all goes back to that, everybody. You can't own everything. We spent years, well, at least 9 months looking at the top. It started with the top 20 cryptos, top 50, top 100, now it's top 300. And brought the best in, the winners. And that's kind of what we do. For something to displace the top 10 that we have, which is in our retire on crypto portfolio, it needs to be better. We haven't found anything better yet. Nothing is perfect out there. So, and thank you for your donation as well. Alexander Fu, almost at one whole Bitcoin. Good man, 90% there. Good stuff. I hope we get one last dip before we go above 50,000. I think once we get above 50,000 this time with the Golden Cross, it's not going to come back. Cryptolicious, snacks for orangutans, thank you so much. And Kevin Hayes, wow, had to wake up at 3 a.m. to get into your other platform. So glad that, oh wow, you got in. Well done. Anyway, so glad you're active on there and push out many alerts. Stop tagging the search button. Here's a donation for doggy shelters. Thank you so much. And Dancing Horse, when would you change the Ethereum background to the Solana tiling? I haven't found Solana tiling. It'd be like rainbow colors. That'd be weird. And Live, Love, Life, Fit. Just use Polygon on Spotify. It's a very catchy song. Check it out. Have you heard of it? Nope. I actually rarely listen to music these days. But I will check that out. And thank you for donations as well. Bushido Brown, Trish Hill, and Pest. Good night, everybody. Be safe. Enjoy the markets. Fun times ahead. October's going to be amazing.